Good morning, you're very welcome along to a very special Christmas Eve edition of OTB AM. I hope you had a good weekend and I hope you're looking forward to Christmas wherever you may be celebrating it. We're changing things up this morning. I'm sitting here, Jer's sitting there. Good morning, Jer.
This is an awkward seat because there's 3 cameras and I'm always like, yeah, oh no, yeah.
It's the one with the light on.
I know that one, but that one, it should always just be that one, and then it turns out it bounces around. And now everybody's having a little bit of a fit because Tommy's pressing the buttons.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a bit of a fit myself here.
Actually, John pressing the buttons.
Why do you think we changed up the seats this morning?
You're going to have a go at me.
No, I'm not going to have a go at you at all. I'll tell you who's going to have a go at you this morning, Jer. Jer Gilroy.
Hey.
So you're very welcome along to our first ever edition of Good Take, Bad Take, where we look at some of the good takes and some of the bad takes of 2018.
You are assholes. We shouldn't be using that unparliamentary language on Christmas Eve morning. But if there are young ears and you're in the car, maybe just close them for a moment. But you're a dickhead.
It's Tommy's idea. To be fair, you actually get off quite easy here. We started off by saying, oh, it's going to be great. We're going to trick Jer by playing stuff. And it turns out you actually don't appear that much. But you do appear here at the very start. What subject do you think we're going to start off with some of our best opinions from the year, or worst opinions?
Darts.
We didn't even think of darts. Oh my God, we'll get that by the end. Darts coming your way later on. But before all that, it was the one talking point that really dominated headlines from January right the way through until about April. Have a look at this. You'll have to play in front of a Thomond Park that expects next season. Like, that is real expectancy. Ireland expects when it goes to the World Cup next year.
Leinster have just won every game they played in Europe to win the Champions Cup.
And how many of them did Jonny Carbery play as a starting 10?
He was injured for 4 months this year. That's why
he wouldn't have been the starting 10 anyway. Johnny Sexton would have been the starting 10 for Leinster in every single one of those European matches. Well, no question.
So he wasn't, because Ross Byrne started the Montpellier game away, and there's every chance that Sexton's going to get injured at some point. They're probably also going to rest him a bit more next season.
How many games did Ross Byrne play? One, wasn't it?
Ross Byrne played like 1,400 minutes at 10 last year.
That's across the Pro 14 as well.
Yeah, and so you've got, those games count. They're still matches. There's still an opposition 7 trying to break your ankle every time he comes running at you. Like, far too much has been made of his patriotic responsibility to move provinces, when actually it's his career and it's his life, and if he wants to stay at Leinster, who are the best team, the best club in world rugby at the minute, then he is well within his rights to do so, and he should tell them all to go and shite, basically.
He also has a right to go and,
possibly the best team we've ever seen in any sport.
Ever. That 8 a.m. champagne is never a good idea, Jer.
What?
We forgot about that take as well, when Adrian referred to Leinster as the best sporting team ever. That's really kind of covered up what we thought was a bad take, but I get the sense that you're going to try and defend that take.
We need the tweet. What, that Joey Carbery shouldn't have joined Munster?
Yeah.
I mean, I still think that it's a pity that he was forced to join Munster. I don't think this is going to be good for the long-term future of the provinces, where players are being forced to move and effectively told, you're not going to play for Ireland unless you move.
It's worked out.
You should tell them all to go and shite, basically.
Go and tell them all to go and shite. I don't know, like in the specific of the Carbery, like you also made the point during the year that it's killing the provincial rivalries. Munster-Leinster this week, I'm going to care about that game.
The teams playing in those games?
Munster are going to have a strong team.
Are they definitely going to have a strong team?
Yeah.
Do we know the team that has been named for those games?
Well, from the Ulster game obviously last weekend.
Yes.
There was 13 changes and exactly. It was a weakened team.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We have that as a bad take, but you can defend it.
I'm keeping my take. I think that we in this country have decided that the primacy of the senior international team is all that matters, and I understand exactly why they do that. They do it for financial reasons, because the vast majority of our income comes from the international team. But if you see what's happened in England, where they've just taken 200 odd million from a venture capital firm for 27% or whatever it is, they're going to have an injection of 13 million. Each of the clubs in the Premiership are getting an injection of 13 million, which they're now saying that they won't spend, or they're not allowed to spend, on salary. So the match-going experience is going to vastly improve. You would assume that some of it will filter into the playing staff eventually. Post-World Cup, they're going to get all the best Kiwis, all the best Australians, and all the best South Africans. There is a possibility that it becomes the most important league in the world, and that our teams are on the outside looking in. And at that point, what are we going to do? So if you don't have very strong provinces and if you don't have very strong provincial rivalry, then they just become feeder teams for the international side. But the international team might end up being less important in 8 to 10 years. I just think that you've got to be careful when you're socially engineering stuff, that you don't accidentally break the thing that made rugby great.
Or you could refer to it as the backup 10 for Ireland getting more minutes rather than social engineering.
You could. I mean, fine. You guys think that, and that's a totally understandable, reasonable take on this. But
let's just remind ourselves of the completely unreasonable take here. Incredible team. We've never seen the like in any sport possibly. Superb day, all told. After Leinster win the Pro 14, I think.
The 26th of May, what's Pro 14? Yeah, Any Viva.
At 7:59 p.m. That is, what are we making that? 7.5 hours of pure Prosecco drinking?
In any sport, possibly.
You should tell them all to go and shite, basically.
The next thing we want to go to, it's an even worse take than yours, to be honest. I basically went on holidays and I didn't follow any of the Joey Carbery stuff, so I'd kind of been transported from one time zone to one time in space to another time where different things were going on. Nothing in between made any sense to me. Here's some bizarre stuff I said. I presume I haven't missed John Cooney leaving Ulster.
No.
He's still there. So you've got John Cooney at 9. You've got a player who's clearly hungry for success. He's a player who's made vast improvements this season for an Ulster team that looked doomed at certain parts of the season. He was the only shining light at certain times of the year. He's learned from someone like Christian Leala-Ufano this season. He's grown his game incrementally over the past couple of months. He's looking to learn. Joey Carbery's looking to learn. And you've got an unbelievably exciting half-back pairing right there. Like, is that not something that, as a neutral, we can be really excited about? Cooney and Carbery. We have had some good rugby takes this year. Rory O'Connor absolutely nailed James Ryan.
Second row after Paul O'Connell looked a little bit light, but it's funny how it happens. A bit like O'Driscoll giving way to ring rows. We now have, O'Connell retires and here comes O'Connell 2.0 with hands. He's just such an exciting prospect who just doesn't seem to be fazed by anything.
That was him calling James Ryan being absolutely sensational.
Back in April.
Even earlier than April, I think. That was in an old studio that we were using this studio in April, I think. So that's a long, long time ago. So good take there. This one, though, when it comes to rugby guests, probably not the greatest take of all time. Take it away, Chris, for 2.
No, I really do. I think at their best, I got to say, at their best, what I think's developing there, I can't see anyone beating them. I can't at the moment. And when you throw people like Rieko Ioane, the rising centres they've got, if you throw Sonny Bill Williams at his best back into the mix, and there's injury doubts about him, and they can now flood the field in the last 30 minutes with these guys that have so much extreme acceleration and stepping ability that they just rip the game open at the end. When you bring guys like Damien McKenzie, possibly Richie Moanga on, they're just very hard to contain. And I know it's going to sound like arrogance over there. I accept that. I like to think that in the past, people like myself have called it when the All Blacks aren't going well, when we think other countries are going well. But I just see this team that's now rising.
The unstoppable rise of the All Black machine.
How did that take age? Said he couldn't see the All Blacks being beaten by anybody. Did they get beaten in November by somebody?
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to crow about it, though. It's only when we beat them in the World Cup that we'll start crowing.
Or maybe we won't need to beat them in the World Cup. Maybe somebody else will do it for us.
We're going to have to beat them at some point.
I don't know. This time next year,
we'll either have to beat them in the quarters or in the final.
Make your take right now for something that we can play in Good Take, Bad Take 2019. Who's going to win the World Cup?
Ireland are going to win the World Cup. Why not? I mean, it could be anybody. It's the most even World Cup that there's been in a very long time.
It's not going to be anybody, though. It's not going to be Georgia.
Well, correct, Owen. I do love a bit of pedantry. Good man.
That's all I want for Christmas, is to be more of a pedant. Let's move on to GAA, because there were some terrible takes and some good takes. Actually, in our power rankings, our first power rankings this year, we all nailed the number 1 footballer of the year. Have a look at this. I think it was myself, yourself, and Anthony Moyles. Number 1, Brian Fenton. Who ended up being footballer of the year? Brian Fenton. I think we can roll through a couple of other power rankings of footballers this year. Brian Fenton in yours power rankings, Ger. And then finally, the other power ranking, which is Anthony's.
I think these got mixed up, didn't they? Too many Kerry lads in that one for that to be. This is the start of June, is it?
Yeah, that's not my power ranking.
Okay.
Yeah, mine was the first one. That's Anthony Moyles's.
All right, in there.
Yeah, Brian Fenton number 1. Basically, we all absolutely nailed it with everybody having Brian Fenton. But is there a name missing from that list? And maybe move on to bad takes.
Yeah, Kieran Kilkenny.
Well, I was thinking more David Clifford myself. If you roll through your power rankings, Ger, who else are you missing?
These mine?
Yeah, you're also missing David Clifford and Kieran Kilkenny. And then on my list, I think I did have Kieran Kilkenny in there.
You did.
Indeed, I did. But I didn't have David Clifford either. What were we thinking in June?
You Paul Gainey up. I mean, you're picking on reputation rather than form.
Well, like what form was there before June? League form.
Yeah, it's true. League is league, championship.
Well, like, I don't
Here's
understand.
take.
There is. That is the hottest take we've had all year. Not as hot as this one, though, because when it comes to the hurling takes, there was one man, there's an elf on the shelf. Wow, it's actually moving in front of my eyes. It's like Toy Story, but weirder.
Do you know the elf on the shelf, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of the elf on the shelf?
I think it's rather creepy.
It's unbelievably creepy, isn't it? And do you know what the elf on the shelf is? The elf on the shelf is a snitch.
Yeah?
They are a snitch. The job of the elf on the shelf is to snitch on you when you're in bed. These creepy eyes, this fixed stare. The last thing you see at night is this whispering in your ear. Don't think bad thoughts. I'm going to Santa to report them all. I can see them.
Really? I thought Santa just...
Snitch.
I thought Santa himself... I thought Santa himself had a method of, like, surveying everything.
I mean, yeah.
He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake.
That's the omnipotence of, like, the God figure. Obviously stolen from religion. But the elf on the shelf is, like, clearly just this commercially designed, intended to terrorise and then snitch on you.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure. Like, are you an elf on the shelf dad?
No.
Why?
We talked about it briefly, and the 4-year-old was like, no, I don't want an elf on the shelf. They're too scary. I was like, fair enough.
Well, that was a conversation that was worth having. We're going to get to hurling takes. Shane's
3 Galway guys as well. Dahi Burke, Davy Burke and Joe Canning as well.
That's obviously the place to start, isn't it?
Joe
in
Canning.
Number 8, Joe Canning.
Yeah.
Why do you hate Joe Canning so much?
Wow. He's in my top 10. Surely that means I think he's a really good player.
Did you put that in so that we wouldn't give you shit for leaving him out?
That is Joe Canning there being spoken about by Shane Stapleton, who, of course, left him in his top 10. He is one of the top 10 hurlers in the country. I think that's a good take. Is it a bad take that he wasn't in the top 3 hurlers in the country?
He was pretty good this year, wasn't he?
He was. He was the second best hurler this year. I think we can't deny Cian Lynch the number 1 spot. Pork Mannion perhaps would have happened to do if we could see the actual breakdown.
Yeah,
of the
that was January, obviously, so Cian Lynch wasn't featuring.
No. There was some more grim hurling takes this year. Tommy Walsh had a particularly grim take on what the future of hurling might hold.
I would say, like, if we don't sort it out, and I say we, as in me, the clubs, the county boards and the GA, if we don't sort it out, we will not have hurling in 10 years' time. It'll be just elite. There'll be nothing going on. So, because in Kilkenny, I don't know what way it is around the rest of the country, summer soccer is coming.
Right.
So, like, I thought we had no soccer players in Tullerhone. I think we have a few that play in town. So suddenly, say, you're used to training 2 or 3 days a week, maybe a match, say twice a week, maybe a match the weekend. Suddenly you've guys playing soccer on Saturdays. And then I hear that they only play Saturdays because it was the winter and it was dark during, so they might be even playing soccer in the evenings in the summer.
Yeah.
So what way do you do it now? So I think, you know, you talk about complacency, we need to sort ourselves out, because where do like you look at Limerick, the golden run they're on now with these young lads, where did they come from? The Piercing, playing in Club All-Irelands, Kilmallock playing in Club All-Irelands. You look at Joe Canning, one of the greatest hurlers of his era, couldn't win in All-Ireland until last year. Where was he getting his success? With Portumna.
Yeah.
3 or 4 Club All-Irelands. So I think, and the GA as well is a massive, it's a massive cultural community thing at the moment. Like, we no longer have everyone going to mass Sunday morning and talking for an hour or two. We no longer have people calling to each other's houses or meeting on the streets.
Yeah.
Now, with your iPhones and your iPads, most people are nearly inside in their houses at night, bar the GA. you're down at your matches, the phones are gone, you're chatting, you're playing. So yeah, I think we're in big trouble with the clubs if we don't sort it out. But there's rumours going around talking to different lads that there's massive meetings going on at club level and county boards, and the GA themselves I think are meeting up with guys to sort out the clubs. So when I hear that, I'm delighted.
Hard to tell if that's going to come true or not. It's probably going to take a few more years before we actually know the accuracy of that.
But the path is not great, right? That's the main point, is that the club players in hurling and football are fairly united about the fact that the fixture list is not properly organised. They don't have a clear programme of games. They don't know when they can go on holidays. They don't know when the championship is going to be. And those structures could be fixed if there was a will. But at the moment, anytime somebody like the Roscommon County Board put forward a proposal for a blank slate, it's like, no, we're going to try and fix it incrementally here. Little bit by bit by bit by bit. I don't know. I would be more inclined to listen to Tommy on that stuff than what's coming from Congress.
Yeah, it's fair. I am coming around to your way of thinking that you just need to demolish the entire house and build from scratch again, rather than
it'd be really easily done.
Renovate.
It'd be like 6 months of angry back and forth, and then everybody would fall into it, and it would just happen.
Yeah. If I had told you what the WTF award for weirdest take of the year is,
whose is it?
You wouldn't be able to guess. Which off-the-ball staff member do you think gave us the WTF?
Adrian Barry.
Yes. We asked him for his Westmeath Mount Rushmore, and he gave us these names. Quick question for you, Adrian. Who's your 4 Mount Rushmore in the Westmeath Mount Rushmore?
Seeing as you haven't included him, I mean, incredibly, it's a slight on the man, but I will happily take ownership of Paddy O'Shea. I'm not sure there's a mountain high enough. I think the highest mountain in Westmeath is probably about the height of this desk. It's a pretty flat area, but I'm going to put him in there.
So one Kerry man on the Westmeath Mount Rushmore.
I can do what I want with it. It's my Mount Rushmore, and he's an honorary Westmeath man as far as I'm concerned. John Aldridge, of course, has to be on the Westmeath Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Obviously.
Okay.
Joe Dolan is going to, I mean, he's got to be in there. And after that, it's a kind of a toss-up between like Niall Horan, Brezzy, Spike Fagan, Rory O'Connell, Desi, that sort of thing.
Robbie Henshaw?
Robbie Henshaw. How did I miss Robbie Henshaw?
Well, because you were bad at putting together Mount Rushmores. You picked a Kerry man.
I think that's... but it's my... The whole essence of it is my Mount Rushmore.
It is also a Westmeath Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, but he is like one of the greatest Westmeath men of all time.
But he's not a Westmeath man.
Well, let's not worry about the small detail.
It's a fairly major detail. Paddy O'Shea, Westmeath man. John Aldridge, Westmeath man.
I like it. I like it. Creative.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's okay. It's okay.
So-called lesser counties need to be creative. Niall Horan's gone on that, surely.
Well, if Joe Dolan makes it, does Niall Horan make it automatically? Or is Joe Dolan above Niall Horan in the power rankings of Westmeath people? So it's not necessarily an automatic thing. If you've got Henshaw in there, and you've got Desi Dolan in there, and you've got Joe Dolan in there,
you're going to have like half and half Harvey Two-Face style, one half Desi, one half Joe, and that could just be the Dolan. That's that bit.
Yeah, that would be that part. Like, I don't know, Adrian was saying that you could have picked the top 5 Mount Rushmore, which doesn't really work, or you could have picked the top 10 Mount Rushmore. I think the point of Mount Rushmore is 4. But that was one of the stranger takes that Paddy O'Shea makes the Westmeath Mount Rushmore. I've got on my script here, I didn't put this down, but best shout of the year, best take of the year is something about Jonny Cooper and Sergio Ramos. On that kind of on the malice point, like I've made a Sergio Ramos comparison earlier on, and I don't think the comparison just stops with how he got refereed or anything like that. I think you could almost make a very direct comparison to what happened with Mo Salah in the Champions League final, that the consequence does not have to match what the defender was trying to do. You can't say Sergio Ramos was trying to kill Mo Salah and end his dreams of appearing in the World Cup. The same could be said of Jonny Cooper. He wanted to make a hard challenge on the player. He didn't intend to hit him in the face.
He just wanted to win the ball. Like, he didn't go out to do anyone. He didn't go out to do any damage. The ball is there. That. He actually touches the ball. There's an issue about whether or not the fist is closed or open. But yeah, he has to make the tackle.
What we learned this summer is that if somebody's stealing your takes, they're good takes. And Owen Mulligan
stole your take. Stole your take.
He kind of
he took your take.
He appeared in the house with a bag over the shoulder, grabbed the take, put it in the bag, and ran away from my house.
And Jonny Cooper spoke to you about this later on in the year.
He did actually. Yeah, he was on a Saturday panel. It's on the record, and I was asking him about the Sergio Ramos comparisons, and he rightly said, "You started it." which I did. So I'm taking that as shout of the year, it says in my script. That video there, that was basically kind of a later conversation than what we actually had. We've got an award for the pissed off most GAA folk take of the year, and it is Damien Duff. Congratulations, Damien.
I think it's a disgrace. I think it's Gaelic people and whoever makes the decision saying rule books and they don't have their AGMs till next February. It's a load of crap. It's archaic. It's just dinosaurs making decisions. A young man has passed away, left a young family behind, and all they're looking to do is play a game that will bring people together. Firstly, it'll be a lovely occasion and will help Lee Miller's family. So I just find it absolutely disgraceful that they can't open the gates of their stadium for one day. So I think, I don't know, I don't read media or whatever. I'd like to think that's what everyone's feelings is on it, but I find it a disgrace, and it's just same old dinosaurs in GAA making the same old decisions.
Are you surprised by what's happened?
I am, my aunt. You hear a lot about the GAA people. Yeah, I know they opened Croke Park for the senior internationals years back, but it's absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, it's just a game of football, and that's all I can call them, dinosaurs. So I don't know, they're hinting now that they might open their doors. I don't know, it's PR wise, I think it's been awful for GAA, and rightly so.
But the thing is, it could have been such an easy PR win for them as well had they made the U-turn straight away.
Yeah. Oh, listen, even if they open the doors now and the game is played there, I still think they come out of it looking awful. So it's a lose-lose for them now, and it serves them right. So it makes my blood boil, and I can only imagine how everyone on the committee feels about it as well. So absolute disgrace, but not really surprised.
Damien Duff there, speaking in the middle of the summer during the Liam Miller testimonial match saga, I guess. There was plenty of sagas this year. Damien Duff got a lot of flack for that. It became a story that, in a weird way, divided parts of Irish sporting life, where the GAA people battened down the hatches and the soccer people battened down the hatches, and it became a GAA versus soccer debate.
Well, there was definitely a lot of people in GAA who thought he was dead right too. I mean, there was a lot of GAA people who thought it was ridiculous that it took the national outpouring of anger and resentment to the powers that be in Cork GAA for not opening it in the first place, when they clearly had the opportunity to open it from the get-go and to get involved and to do whatever they wanted and to join in whatever way they wanted. But instead, it was forced upon them. And look, sure, it's Christmas Eve. We're being nice to everybody, aren't we?
Well, why?
Damien Guff was what the GAA was saying.
Some people are going to get turf tomorrow, or coal. So we don't need to be nice to everybody on Christmas Eve.
I see you've stretched out the elf on the shelf there. He's like...
Yeah,
he was reporting, he was snitching back to HQ on us there in the middle of that Damien Duff interview.
What do you mean? Why?
That's what he does.
Oh, but why does HQ need to know about us?
Well,
sorry, to Santa. I thought you meant to our HQ here. I thought we were a weird dynamic, wouldn't it?
Because we broadcast all our stuff, so there's a fair idea whether or not we're actually doing stuff.
It is true.
That and the fact that on your Instagram last night you were in the pub in Tralee or Killarney or wherever it was.
True.
Kind of giving light to the fact that we're not actually live here this morning, Owen.
I deleted my Instagram post from last night. It's okay. As long as I'm awake by this time, then I'll have got around to deleting those Instagram accounts. Good morning, Ireland, I guess is the phrase I'm looking for.
Which pub are you, or which town are you most likely to get the head pucked off? Yeah, it's like half of Killarney's going to be gunning for you.
Why?
Because several of your takes were anti-Killarney in particular, weren't they?
Well, they weren't. I love Killarney. It's my favourite town in the world. It's the best town in Ireland, and that's a fact, not even an opinion.
Was it Tralee? I mean, you definitely...
Tralee's a bit of a... It's grand, like.
Oh.
That's a joke. I love Tralee. I love Tralee.
I love watching you squirm and panic. That's a joke.
They're really good at being a town, Tralee. The take that might bite him on the arse if Declan Rice returns. Kevin Kilban.
He's had his head turned. Why on earth play for us in the first place to then consider going to play for a different country?
Yeah,
that's what I genuinely feel with it. And personally, if he's called back into the squad, or if he were then to change his mind and think, I'm going to go, what does that say to the rest of the lads? What does that say to young kids growing up, that you can actually, you're aspiring to be a Declan Rice, you're aspiring to be, if you're English born, you're aspiring to be Declan Rice, you've got pride in playing for Ireland, then all of a sudden, I could actually go and play for someone else as well, or a young boy's over here in Ireland that's growing up, and they're listening tonight, or they're seeing what Declan Rice is doing. What's that saying to them? They're coming through a system where someone's taken 3 caps off an Irishman.
The take that might bite him on the arse if Declan Rice returns, I'm not sure if Kevin's going to change his opinion that much. He'll probably stand by it.
All you have to do if you're Declan Rice and you want to come back is you say, my relationship with the previous management structure had broken down. I no longer felt like I could give myself to them. That's where the confusion happened. It's true I met Gareth Southgate, and at that point I needed to feel like I was clear in my mind what I wanted to do. I'm clear in my mind what I want to do now. As I kissed the badge that time, playing for Ireland, scoring that goal in was it under 19s, under 21s, whatever it was, that is my true calling. If he wants to come back. I mean, the papers on Friday were full of ooh, Declan Rice might be coming back. But I think that's just, I'm going to buy that newspaper and see what the story is here. It says what? It says that he might be coming back, but there's no facts.
There are facts. They had the fact that, it's all facts on this side, that Mick McCarthy rang Declan Rice, or Declan Rice's dad, before he was even unveiled as Ireland manager.
That's not news. That was already known.
Was that reported already?
Yes.
That was during my other holiday that I missed that stuff.
Right. A lot of holidays there.
Yeah, that was this gate. I don't know. I'm slowly ratcheting up in terms of my hope once again.
Yeah.
Because at the start when this all began, my take was Declan Rice is going to play for Ireland, and yours was that he's going to play for England. And even if we just kind of park the idea of whether or not that's right or wrong, or I don't really care about that, but I'm starting to feel a bit more confident in my initial opinion.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I can see why. I can see why there's an opportunity now that there wasn't, and there wouldn't have been if there hadn't been a change of management. And let's face it, if McCarthy secures Declan Rice to play for Ireland for the next 10 years, then he has instantly got a legacy.
Yeah, for sure. We were having this conversation with Michael Verney last Friday. What do you think Gareth Southgate put in that PowerPoint presentation in St. George's Park?
Honestly?
Yeah.
I would say a tactical breakdown of the positioning that you would expect Declan Rice to fulfil within the England team, and the difference in quality of the England team on the basis of that. So I see you either as a midfielder or as a central defender, or I see you as a central defender as part of a whatever. This is your partner. This is your midfield partner. When we play away from home, I would expect you to do this, this and this. When we're playing at home, I would expect you to do this, this and this. Very important. I would expect you to step up your leadership skills and be somebody who, is the example of what it is to come through the English football system and to represent all of the things that we're accused we can't be. A technical player, fiery, but actually always in control. That's the type of conversation you have with him.
Is that the sort of thing that's going to sway him more than Robbie Keane pulling at the heartstrings?
It's always your dream to play for the Republic of Ireland, isn't it?
Mick McCarthy speaking to his father.
I mean, the dad, that's a genius move.
Well, it is. It really is. I think that there's more in that than a cold PowerPoint presentation. It does lack a bit of warmth. And maybe Declan Rice is this robot who's going to become...
St. George's Park is a very impressive facility.
It's impressive, but does it scream home?
Well, I mean, no. It's a greenfield site in the Midlands, about 25 minutes from, half an hour from Birmingham Airport. But the indoor arena is the size of the Wembley pitch, and the facilities and the number of coaches who are working there, and just the fact that football has a home. You will be bringing the World Cup here, Declan. Every child who comes through these gates dreams of playing for the country you're from.
It sounds a little bit dystopian. It sounds kind of like if you remove all the plot lines, like Handmaid's Tale sort of thing. At least look at all these robotic characters wandering around the place, all wearing the same tracksuit, all with the same clipboard, all speaking exactly the same way and using the exact same bullshit jargon.
Well, that's how La Masia operates, and no one calls that bullshit jargon.
No, that's how Team Sky operates, and nobody calls that Oh, wait.
I mean, it's not how Team Sky operate at all.
Well, that front, that person, if you take away the specifics, I'm talking about pure...
Gareth Southgate doesn't have any of that crap. He didn't.
So many Dave Brailsfords walking around St. George's Park, I bet.
I don't think there are.
No?
I don't think there are. I think that Dave Brailsford drives like a Maserati with his personalised license plate. Brailsford's real character is not marginal gains. Like, it just isn't. David Brailsford.
Sorry, what I mean is the Brailsford front, not the Brailsford character. Like, obviously, I'm not suggesting whatsoever that anything like that St. George's Park is kind of full of a different character, the sort of egotistical, I am really the centre of this thing, even though I don't believe it. What I mean is that the Dave Brailsford corporate speak front.
Don't think so. I think it's just coaching people how to play football. Like, just to extend the logic out, there's no way for any coaching organisation not to fall into coach speak, because that's how coaches talk, right? So is all centralised coaching?
Well, that comes back to Robbie Keane, he hasn't fallen into the coach speak trap just yet. And I do wonder if that's the thing that's going to chip away at Declan Rice, and he's like, this guy feels me.
Maybe. I mean, who knows?
Also,
all forms of nationalism are bullshit.
Irish Football Player of the Year, according to the Keith Andrews show last week. Congratulations again, Declan. Come home and collect your awards. To be a net waiting.
Shouldn't Matt Doherty get it?
No, Matt Doherty was Irish Player of the Year. This was performances in a green jersey.
Right.
Which, it's kind of sad at Declan Rice. Not as sad at all, Declan. Congratulations that he was our best player in a green jersey this year. That's not very Irish. A take is Jonny Ward on the same subject.
One thing that hasn't been really discussed, and was actually said to me at a match last night, Declan Rice has the opportunity to play for a team, seemingly now, who nearly got to the World Cup final, or he can play for a team who are basically piss poor, namely the Republic of Ireland. He can say, I'm going to go in and train under Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane, who personally, from everything I've heard and from what I know of them, I don't rate at all as a managerial duo. The style of football we play is horrible. And from a professional sense, if he's going to value how much wages he's going to take and how much money he's going to make in his career, which is basically what all of us would do, notwithstanding the fact that he's a footballer, he's also a worker who wants to make money. He'd be far better off playing for England than playing for Ireland. No doubt about that whatsoever. Now, how much of a role his agent has had in this, I hate agents in general. I think they're poison in football. What role the agent has had, I don't know. I don't know how English or Irish Rice feels. I frankly don't care, to be honest. Nationality is up to the person himself, if you want to believe in it at all. If he wants to make a professional decision and play for England, notwithstanding the fact that he's, as Kev said, he's taken 3 caps off somebody else, I don't really care about that. If Rice wants to play for England, best of luck to him. And I don't think the outpouring of anger from the likes of James McLean and so on is doing us any favours whatsoever. If he wants to play for Ireland, I would welcome him with absolutely open arms. And the fact that we're so worked up about it, the fact that we're so angry that he might not play for us, just shows how bloody bad we are, because we really need him.
And that was the other element of the whole debate. Not the will he, won't he, but the should he or shouldn't he.
I mean, yeah.
If you're in his position, you're picking England, basically.
99 times out of 100. It will be the massive outlier, completely emotional career suicide move.
To play for Ireland?
Yeah.
Is how much has it changed in the last month?
And fair play to him for making that decision. I mean, totally. It'd be like...
How much has that changed in the last month? How is it less suicidal than when it was Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be, It seems like we have a long-term succession plan in place. We have... we're going to try and play football.
Is Stephen Kenny the guy who should be flying over and meeting Declan Rice?
Maybe. He's not going to play on 21 football for us, I don't think.
No.
I think the ship has sailed in terms of age and ability. So, anyway, let's move on.
We've got a few mixed martial arts takes. I still love talking about Declan Rice. I don't know why. It's one of those stories that you can talk about all year long.
What if he signed over the weekend and when we recorded this on Friday and you've completely blown 25 minutes of content there?
What are you talking about?
Well, because you had to go home to Killarney to get on Instagram this weekend. See, What
are you talking about? I'm going home now, Christmas Eve. Driving home for Christmas on the 24th of December, which is
finally
today.
The day that you can finally play Chris Rea songs.
Exactly. It's the only day that's acceptable. Also, today's the last day that it's acceptable to play Christmas music or watch Christmas films.
Tomorrow you can do it.
No, maybe you can watch. Maybe you can watch before dinner. Before dinner.
Stephen's Day morning.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And
what's the point of watching a Christmas movie on Stephen's Day? Christmas is over at that point.
The Thai Rugby Club Disco has a full Christmas song set. It's basically a night of Christmas songs.
Do you still go to the Thai Rugby Club Disco?
On Stephen's night. Unfortunately, no, I haven't been to the rugby club in
4 years?
15 years. But
15 years, so you were there when you were 25?
It hasn't changed.
And what did you used to go to a disco in the rugby club every Tuesday?
It was the late bar.
Okay.
So
how late are we talking?
2 o'clock.
All right. So it's pretty bad.
I mean, you're talking about 90s and noughties here.
It's true, different time.
Different time.
No lock-ins. Where's Stevens Day bringing you these days?
Stevens is bringing me to a tie.
Let's kind of say that really in a really sad manner. God, I feel sorry for your trouble. Let's talk mixed martial arts. Some incredible takes, some roundabout takes, and something in between here. Let's have a look at Darren Till speaking to Joe Conroy in the first interview we did with Darren Till earlier this year. He was giving his take on Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Not necessarily just as a relentless wrestler as Khabib, if for an example of Khabib is, first round Khabib has to be really careful. Second round, because I feel like Conor plugs him on with that left hand, he knocks him out. But then you're coming into the third and the fourth, Khabib's still at like the same pressure as he was in the first, and he's gonna take you down. The thing is, he doesn't take you down and lie on top of you. It's like he throws you about and he doesn't let go. He's the best wrestler in the UFC without a doubt.
Good take there from Darren Till, except he went off the ball again, and this time before the fight he gave a very, very different take to Niall McGrath.
And before I actually predicted that fucking Khabib would, like, I thought Khabib would edge it on 5 rounds. Now I'm sort of going towards Conor.
You messed it up for yourself, Darren. What are you doing? Got it wrong. That was Darren Till nailing it and then turning the hammer around and pulling the nail right out.
Banging himself in the head.
Yeah. That was a bad take, I think it's fair to say, because are we using the help of hindsight here to say that Conor McGregor was always going to get crushed?
I mean, maybe. It certainly looked that way, didn't it?
It certainly seemed that way. The takedown of the year is this. It is It is you, Mr. Jerry Gilroy, speaking about your favourite rugby player.
But one of the key characters, this is I think an important thing to bring up in advance of this, is the lock that they signed from South Africa, Gerbrand Grobler. Just have a look at this headline from when he was a 22-year-old from South African newspaper, Western Province. That's what the WP stands for. WP lock test positive. Gerbrand Grobler has received a 2-year ban after testing positive for an anabolic steroid. The test was done last October during the Currie Cup. When Grobler was informed of the result, he admitted his guilt and made a settlement agreement with the South Africa Institute for Drug-Free Sport. And so he's served a 2-year ban for that. The drug was an anabolic steroid, which had been traditionally used for the treatment of breast cancer. So it wasn't something that you take accidentally. It's like something that you decide is going to help you build muscle because he didn't have breast cancer. And so therefore he didn't need to take that drug. This happened, the transfer, he served a 2-year ban, left South Africa, went to Racing in Paris, and then at the end of a 1 year in Racing, ended up being available and signed for Munster. We don't know exactly who signed him for Munster. I presume Rassie Erasmus would have been involved in that signing. You presume it also has to be signed off at some point by the IRFU, and I guess it also has to be signed off on by the chief executive.
Yeah, that feels like 2 years ago at this point, or 3 years ago. It doesn't feel like
yeah. When you're saying it was 2018, it's hard for me to think. What month was it? January, February?
January. It was like 10 days into January, I think.
Right. Yeah, I looked young.
You did. You've aged a bit in 11 months. What happened?
I have kids.
Yeah, of course. That story probably aged you a bit as well.
Not really. I think that's fairly straightforward. Drugs are bad. Okay.
Mm-hmm. What about the reaction? 12 months on, is it like,
well, so
well
a lot of Munster fans were like, yeah, we shouldn't be doing this, and a lot of Munster fans were like, who are you to say this? Why didn't you say this in the first place? And it's like, okay, even if we'd said it in the first place, you would have circled the wagons. So sports fans of all teams are gee-eyed about their own team. The Dublin football fans, the Kerry football fans, the Tyrone football fans, Liverpool fans, Man United fans, Arsenal fans, Spurs fans. The whole point of being a fan is that you get to circle the wagons about, like, sport is a proxy for other stuff, and we use it to road test our character in many respects. And it's nice to belong to something bigger than you. And when that thing that's bigger than you gets challenged or undermined, then of course you're going to try and defend it. And that's what the Munster fans are doing. And I understand it. I think they're wrong. And a lot of it got madly personal. Which is
did it?
Just like, like, we've been getting abusive texts since 2002 when we started. So it doesn't really matter. But But it's interesting, that dynamic that you will defend, even when it's damaging you will defend the thing that your team is doing. Because it does damage Irish rugby and it does damage Munster, that you will say, yeah, look, we don't care if you've got a drug taking past. We'll put you in our system, we'll put you in our changing room, and we're happy with that. Like, since subsequently all that stuff came out about the South African teenagers being doped by their parents and their coaches to play this tournament, and there's a rotten drug culture in South African rugby, and we can import that drug culture very easily by accident if we're not very careful. Maybe there is already a rotten drug culture in Irish rugby. There is no specific evidence of it just yet, but it would be complacent of us not to assume that there are people out there who are looking at the fantastic wealth available now and thinking, if I do a little bit of this and I improve by a couple of percent, I might get a contract, and that's going to make me rich and successful. So no doubt the
incentive is there.
Absolutely, the incentive is there, and the opportunity is there as well, because you can just order this stuff on the internet. Like, there was a prime time recently where you can go down to any gym in the country and get these type of steroids. You can do a small bit of reading to learn how to master them, take something else, and away you go. Like, and suddenly you bulk up and you're getting picked on your school team if you want to. You're getting picked then for academy tests. You're in the academy. And no doubt there's loads of stringent testing going on, because the academies are the ones who actually have the opportunity to test them. The schools aren't. And maybe the schools are testing them and not releasing that information, but the IRFU aren't testing at schools level. So it would be completely mad of us to assume that there is not also something going on in Irish rugby, but we know for a fact that it's right there in South African rugby, and yet we have continued to invest heavily in bringing South Africans, and nobody else that we know who's come over has tested positive in the past. So that's the big red flag. It's like, you can all come, and even if you've cheated in the past, we don't care, which was the message that got sent out. So that damages us.
Yeah, of course.
Like, it damages our rugby culture in this country. It damages the Munster culture. It damages Leinster, Ulster, and Connacht by extension. So, like, that's why it was mad that the fans were like, "Oh, this is grand. It's just you guys out to get us." Because, well, actually, it's not. Really, the rising tide of Munster rugby lifts all boats.
We've got one last GAA take before we wrap up today. It's a take that, I don't know, we've called a crystal ball moment of the year, and here's a prediction from David Brady that perhaps we didn't actually need.
What names are on people's lips then to replace Rochford, David?
Oh Jesus, Pope Francis. That's it's becoming an absolute. It's becoming a joke, and I won't. At this juncture, it's not a time for naming names. But I can tell you, Jim McGuinness is anywhere next now associated with Mayo football. I know that, and. Going forward, what Mayo need.
How do you know that? Sorry.
How do I know that? Because Mayo's next appointment will be for someone that is there to develop and needs to be developing Mayo football, not just for the next 6 months or 12 months. I think Mayo need to step back away from saying we want to win Ireland. We want to do the very best we can. We want to put everything in place to win it, but the structures need to be there. And I think it's not because the name Jim McGuinness, but I think a guy coming into town, all guns blazing, is not what Mayo need. We need a plan, and we need someone that's going to be there for the next 3 or 4 years. But that's never guaranteed in Mayo football.
He was right.
They got the right man too.
For the long term?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a debate about this. Last week, we had a debate about this. Not yesterday.
Well, the debate we had was about whether or not 2019 is the year for Mayo. Not is James Horan the right man to develop Mayo football. He may well be the right man to develop Mayo football. There's no reason to suggest he's not, because he's already taken his previous stint, took him from a level of mediocrity to a level of excellence, despite the fact that he didn't win in All-Ireland. Can he take them up that next level again? No reason to suggest not, except for the fact that I do feel that their players that are at their peak are far better than the young players coming in that have yet to reach their peak. So if they're going to win in All-Ireland under James Horan, I feel it's got to be in the year 2019.
I mean, we can't see the future. We are not blessed like David Brady is with a crystal ball. I disagree.
Why?
Because so much happens, right? What happens when Dublin win 5 in a row? Do the hurlers collectively decide to go and play hurling with Dublin, having achieved their 5 in a row? Maybe. Who knows? Does Jim Gavin, even though he signed the new deal, actually say, right, I've done my bit, I've made history, and off I'm going?
Of course not.
Maybe he does, I don't know. Like, maybe this Kerry team are nowhere near as good as everybody says they are, just because they've got a bunch of kids coming through.
Who's saying
the under 17? Well, everybody's saying they win five finals in a row.
No, I've not said. I said Dublin are going to win next year's All Ireland.
The under 17 team, yeah, but in over the next period of time.
I have not said that Kerry are going to go on a sustained period of winning all
next year. You're saying that Mayo aren't going to win an All Ireland and James Horn if they don't win it next year.
I think
that's
so.
the point.
Yeah,
I disagree. I just think that you can't predict what's going to happen in 2020 and 2021.
Well, you can't predict what's going to happen next year either. You can't predict anything accurately.
What if there's 3 of those Mayo under 21s actually happen to be better than Lee Keegan, Andy Moran and Aidan O'Shea?
Then I was wrong.
Exactly.
My suspicion is that I'm right.
I was wrong. He was wrong.
No, then I would be wrong.
Apology accepted. Let's move on.
One last thing. It was the take of the year, the take of the century, the take of the millennium. Take it away, Ger darts.
Brexit down the pub. That's what darts is. Brexit down the pub.
Well, yeah, because
Brexit on tour, Brexit down the pub.
What? Because no other sport falls under the.
I'm not saying out of the sport. I'm not saying out of the sport. Like, if you can defend darts against the charge of it being Brexit in human form, go for it. And you should tell them all to go and shite, basically.
Stand by it?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to try.
It was only just last week, so.
I'm going to try and hone it. Yeah.
You said it's Brexit in person form.
Written, animated. Yeah.
But I like darts. Does that make me
a fellow traveller of Brexit on?
A fan of Brexit?
When the reckoning comes, when people are eating out of bins in the UK, you're going to be like, well, at least we had the darts. And then the mirror will clear and you will see, staring back at you, the face of somebody who was a fellow traveller of Brexit.
I'll see that face tattoo finally becoming clear.
An enabler.
An enabler. I don't like that future for myself. If I become separate, like, are you saying that perhaps darts fans don't enjoy multiculturalism?
I mean, you look at the audience. It doesn't seem like it's marketed to a multicultural audience, is it?
I think it's just marketed to people who love beer.
Maybe
it's if you love beer, and it's I will give you the fact that it is as laddish and as loutish sporting events as you can possibly imagine. Does that make it all like
Nuts and Zoo Weekly does Brexit darts? That's what that is.
I think it's an unfair tarring of.
You're doing a great job of defending that point. You're like, oh yeah, okay, maybe you're right.
No, it's clearly an absurd point you're making.
It absolutely isn't. It's fundamentally like that is
okay.
the
First of all, you can't say it's fundamentally anything.
That is the UKIP
so
Ardèche right there. That is exactly what that is. I'm like Nigel Farage is going to be the ring girl at some point at the darts. That's exactly what was the next stage of this.
What about all the non-British people that play in the World Darts Championship?
Yeah, I mean, so whatever about those players,
World champion,
apart from that one clown who was like doing it for his son and the UK, who is
James Wade.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he voted in Brexit. How do you think he voted?
He voted Leave, no doubt. So you're using James Wade as an example.
Apart from him, right? I know nothing about the rest of them. And if you're a Dutch darts player, fair play to you.
What about the Canadian darts players?
Fair play to all the Canadian darts players. You know those winters are long, and you've got good beer, some pretty crappy beer over in Canada as well.
There's also no crack.
That's not true. Okay, it's a bit true. Like all they're doing is playing a game that you play in the pub, and they're not responsible for the fact that this is the UKIP Ardèche, but it is. And so, when you're all out in the City West with your plastic foams, travel well, my fellow travellers, travel well.
Would you say that going to the darts in the City West is some sort of like reading of the Brexit manifesto?
I'd say it is one of those stereotypical post-imperial, post-colonial inferiority complexes made manifest into, sure, isn't this all great, ironic crack all the same? But actually, all you're doing is aping your master. You are just a little ape. Happy Christmas, everybody.
Happy Christmas indeed. I'm broken.
You should tell them all to go and shite, basically.
Time the bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
So broken.
Honestly.